Time is an omnipresent part of the universe that can't be broken. It is possible to bend time by traveling close to the speed of light. But is there a way to do this under the common scenario of being a normal human being in your day-to-day life? Well, I think there is. And I'm not talking about drugs, just being completely normal and living your life. And if you think about it, the reason that this is possible is the same way that optical illusions occur. It's possible for us to look at a completely straight line in an illusion, and yet we'll see something that is bent, just like our mind's inability to comprehend true physics of the straightness of a line. We can also bend time for ourselves. Hello and welcome to the Growth Mindset Podcast. I am Samuel Webster Harris, and today we're having a fun episode around how to enjoy getting more done and enjoy filling our life with slower, longer moments, becoming masters of time, as it were. I would genuinely say this episode is possibly one of the most important things I've written. It's a collection of ideas that I've created over the years and worked on as I've gained extra insights from psychology, which only further helped me understand why some of these ideas make sense. I personally struggle with ADHD and the feeling that time is flying by at 1,000,000 miles an hour without my control of it. And for any human in the world these days, things are only ever getting faster and faster as there's just increasing demands on our attention and distractions just filling our minds with things to do. So diving into the psychology of our perception of time and how we waste time is a huge plus in how to take back control for ourselves. If you are into any of Cal Newport's work on the deep life and slow productivity, this episode complements his work very well, whilst actually being a completely different and original set of concepts. I would say that Cal Newport is totally great. I definitely recommend reading his books or listening to him, and I do want to specifically break down quite a few of his best concepts on the show. But today I'm going to help you build a framework to create an experientially longer and fuller life, and also help you capture lost time better, be more productive, feel calmer when under tension, and we're going to learn about how to reframe negative feelings in general and create more safety and calmness within ourselves so we can enjoy more of our moments in life without the urge to rush right through them. Now, some evidence of how time will bend for you, which if you've ever watched TikTok, you'll understand this example, because when you watch a TikTok video for the first time, it seems very slow and you'll just hit a moment if you're bored and it will feel painfully long, and every millisecond will suddenly become an age because as you're in TikTok, you're just compelled to flick to the next thing. And so you're always like on this cliff edge of, do I carry on watching this video or do I go to the next one? And it makes the video very long. And then you finish it and you're like, actually, it's good enough. I wanted to send it to someone. You'll be rewatching it and it will finish super fast. And you'll be like, whoa, that was really quick. Because you've already watched it and your mind's no longer like worrying about whether you're going to stay or go. And suddenly, boom, actually the same 10 seconds is really fast as opposed to being an age. It's a very weird illusion that you'll notice when you're looking for it if you go onto TikTok now. Don't go onto TikTok because you'll just waste loads of time. It's an absolute time sink. But anyway, the point is your mind does freaky things and the speed of time does not change, only your perception of it. Now, why? When we are stimulated to do new things, it puts us on edge. That can mean we're waiting for a variable reward that we're not sure about. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And that puts our body into a higher alert status. That means we are just taking in more things, same as with adrenaline. You're going to be reacting faster to stuff. So you're actually kind of slowing down the perception of time deliberately so that you have more time to react to things. And that puts our body into higher alert so that it can take in more things and react to stuff faster. And you think when there's a scary situation or there's adrenaline, you actually want to slow down time so you can react faster to things. And your brain actually is just processing everything around it faster, which makes time seem slower. That's kind of really curious, but it's really cool because actually you are slowing down time when you are on edge. If the mind is familiar with something, it has a lot less to worry about or to be alert for. And it can kind of sit back and stop working so hard, which allows for time to just go much faster around it because it doesn't need to take everything in. It doesn't need to be analyzing every single second to see if it needs to do something else. it also isn't making as many new memories, which is the other way we perceive time, is how many memories we actually had at the end. Memory is another use of precious resources within the mind. And when you have millions of inputs coming at you from everywhere, the brain is just busily ignoring almost everything to forget as much as possible, so that when you do something that is new, that has something it needs to remember, it will work harder to remember that, and it'll pay attention in those moments. It'll be busy forgetting everything else. These are some interesting conundrums about the way that perception of time works. That means we can trick our brains as much as we can trick our eyesight into perceiving time in different ways. And so what practical lessons can we gather from that to use in our own lives? Well, one, regularly do new stuff. And something that I like to use for myself as a metric is the amount of photos that I take, because that's just a very reliable barometer for how interesting and novel my day-to-day life is at that point in time. Because if I look back at a month and I've been taking loads of photos, that means I've been doing stuff a lot, because I've been doing new exciting things that I want to remember and I'm making memories. And if there's no photos, it means I've probably just been sat at home, working, not talking to anyone, not seeing friends, not going places, and there's no memories, and it's just like a blank space in my life. There was a month and this has disappeared. So that's a bit of a warning sign for me that I should be doing more new stuff. Some months will be full, some will be rather empty. And here, what I want you to think about is that your memories are rich and full and will remind you of the stuff that was important to you and were interesting in your life, and you only have one life. And so the more memories that you're creating, the longer your experiential time perception of your life was to reflect upon. And if you think about like COVID, like the lockdowns, it just felt like that year disappeared into a blur because we were just all at home doing the same thing every day. We weren't seeing anyone, we weren't doing things, so we got to see new stuff. And so it just like disappeared. It just flashed by. And that's kind of not what you want to have at the end of your life. You want to be doing stuff. Sure, there are times when you should be working hard. And if there wasn't 1 month in my year I didn't do anything, there's probably something wrong with my year in that I'm just never actually getting any useful work done. But you should definitely be doing quite a lot of stuff and being a social human that actually controls their time. And then that takes us on to the subject of life and what is a long life, because of the point of slowing down time is to have a longer life, right? Your memory, if you think about it, is a bit like a notepad on which you write your life. Each day, you can say, is a new page. And it's not actually necessarily about having as many pages. You could have like a 1 billion page notepad, but if you only write one word or no words on it each day, the book made from all the words in your notepad is actually going to be very short because there's just no words in your book. And a book is measured by how many words are in it. Whereas if you had less pages in your notepad, but every single page was like super long, full of crazy stuff that you did every day, you'd actually have a very long book of your life. So you think about actually, it's about the amount of memories you have and the amount of words on each page than it is necessarily about the amount of days that you live. Now, I'm not saying you should just like go nuts and just die at 30. I'm just saying that you should try and do things each day that interest you and are worthy of putting some writing in a notepad of, basically. If you think about a nice way of saying it is that we want to stay alive so that we have more moments, but what we should seek is more moments that make us feel alive. And a long life is actually a full life. We can't change time, but only our approach to it. It is up to us to fill that time in ways that fill our memories. Cool. So that's on the subject of just making more memories and sort of slowing down time and your perception of that with your own looking back. But now how to go on to more changing your perception of time in the moment and riding that sort of edge that I was talking about with the TikTok videos where you're like unsure whether you go to a different place or stay where you are. Because this is a really interesting area where a lot of the problems with procrastination and like actually getting things done occurs, and could be a really different, interesting solution to some of your problems. But firstly, we do need to have a quick advert break to talk about some of the sponsors who help keep the show alive. As I was saying, there is something fascinating about uncertainty that expands our experience of time in the moment. I think there's a really cool area around reframing your feelings here to want to ride that edge in the same way that like a surfer wants to ride a wave. Because often the feeling of anxiety is something that we'll want to resolve and do something easy instead. So, when I'm stuck with my writing or my editing, I want to relieve that tension by going to the fridge and eating. And that's just me. I might find myself also checking my email or my social media or the stats on my podcast or reading the news or going to LinkedIn. And anyway, that's just what happens when I'm trying to do something that's difficult. Often also, if I find myself in a conversation with someone that just doesn't feel relevant or interesting to me, I kind of get the urge to just stare at my phone. I can just feel it in my pocket, be like, hey, I've got stuff that's actually interesting. And I'm like, gotta go. I'm a human and I'm not that used to sitting with the tension of being in one place, but feeling like there's another place I could be going to. But actually, can we reframe that feeling? And can we be like, hey, this is a friendly feeling. There's some like tension within my body, but I don't need to resolve it. Because these are the moments where time is slowed down to us. And can we instead think of this as an opportunity to be mindful and perhaps in flow? Now, a wave in water is caused by two conflicting pressures, and it creates this wall of water that you can ride and surf on. And the edge between our two wants of like staying in this conversation or going somewhere else and reading my phone or editing or just going to the fridge, that creates a conflicting pressure. And we're on that wave of pressure. And do we jump off that edge, that wave, and go do the other thing? Or do we continue on this cusp of this difficult task and ride that wave? And can we relabel that feeling of wanting to give up as the moment of surf? That is the moment of flow that we are seeking. And that's the moment where we should be digging down and trying to stay on our task, like the surfer that wants to stay on their surfboard because they actually want to go surfing. Because ultimately, surfing a wave is much harder than just sitting around in the water doing bugger all. Yet, surfing the wave is the point of surfing. And doing work that is hard is always going to be like riding a wave. It's always going to want to throw you off. It's always going to be difficult. And yeah, you can always just bum around doing nothing. Just like when you're surfing, you can always just bum around in the water doing nothing. But if you are a surfer, if you just jump off your surfboard at the moment the wave arrives, you're not actually a surfer. And with your work, if you avoid your work at the very moment that the work arrives, we aren't really working, we're just procrastinating. So often the time that our work is best is the moment where we are about to give up, when we are on that wave of conflicting pressures. And that is the moment of flow that we're seeking to actually be our best selves who make awesome stuff. So reframing that tension, that feeling, is the very opportunity that you're sitting around for. That's where your genius is. That's where like your brilliance is unlocked. And the surfer will wait around for the amazing waves. Just don't bloody jump off them. Like learn to run with that feeling, learn to love that feeling. And that feeling is the feeling that will slow down time for you and will be awesome. Now, I'm sure some people will just like find this odd and not understand what I'm saying. And even if no one agrees with me, like I just really love this concept because it's so helpful for myself as someone with ADHD and constantly wanting to run around and do other things. But relabeling my feelings and those feelings of tension as something that's good has genuinely been one of the most beneficial things that's improved my life. I can think of other examples of labeling my feelings that have helped me. So public speaking, for example, I was terrified of public speaking when I was young. I genuinely pretended to have lost all my notes when I was 16 just so that I could sit down. And this was from my exam for English. I was just so scared of speaking in public. But I have a lot of ideas. Like this was just an idea that I invented myself and I like to share them with the world. I think that some of them are good. I've since gone on to win public speaking competitions. I've done stand-up comedy. I've done a TEDx and I'll still get butterflies, but I've reframed that feeling of public speaking, that fear, as excitement, and that they just sit very similarly inside me. But by pretending that I'm excited really puts me in the flow of like, cool, I'm going to do something interesting. And I really want to be here. I want to do this. And it makes my life better. A different feeling that I've reframed was during Vipassana, I learned to reframe anger as empathy and curiosity. And that feeling of annoyance that you might get when someone is mean to you, when something goes wrong, whatever, it's no longer directed at that person's actions, but instead it's just a feeling of like opportunity to appreciate that there's more to understand here, that maybe the person that was mean to me has had a bad day. Maybe I haven't explained myself well, or maybe that person is actually a dick and I can feel sorry for them because of they're just being mean to other people and they don't know how to be happy. And that's not my problem. I don't need to have a bad day because of them being a dick. I can have a good day and just be sorry for them, unable to be happy for their lives. There's no need for me to be angry. And I just have better days. Like situations don't ruin my day and my mood. And it's awesome. Another thing that I've reframed is when you learn to fast, you can reframe your relationship with food and hunger. You don't have to always eat when you're hungry. You can actually sit with that feeling inside you without satiating it. And you can kind of enjoy this sort of gnawing feeling in your stomach that you don't have enough food, and like perhaps like your slight headiness, and you can concentrate better, for example. And you understand that you don't have to resolve this feeling of hunger and pain straight away. It becomes like a cleansing, freeing feeling that you actually have autonomy over your body and that you're feeling healthier within yourself. And it becomes like a chance for your body to exhale, as if it's like you're constantly inhaling food. It's a chance for your body to just like relax and like breathe out and feel better. And it just changes what you think you need to do all the time. And again, it's not reacting to the initial thing that you taught that you should always do when you're hungry, which is eat. Which back to like the whole point of reframing the feeling of like that tension when you're not sure that you should go and do something else because you're doing something difficult. That is a feeling that you can reframe as something that is a friendly place to be. That is the point of your work. That is the wave you want to ride. Now, none of those changes I just listed were like easy. I didn't just wake up and was like, yeah, I'm never going to be angry again. It took time. They did all teach me that emotions don't always mean what you think they mean when you first have them, and that you can learn to interpret them differently and use them just as a signpost of opportunity for something that is wiser and better for you, and that you can make the choice. And so, what does this all mean? I've got a bit off track from the topic of making our experiential life longer, but I was not accidentally talking about productivity under the guise of emotions and surfing, because learning to feel these moments of tension and flow does just mean we can stay in them longer. And those are the moments that time slows down for us. That's when time can drag painfully second by second, but it's also when it can just pass interestingly and curiously second by second, where we're just taking more in and doing more stuff. And when we savor those slow moments, we can spend more of our lives in a time of slower perception that makes our life feel longer. And so if you want to slow down time, you do just need to observe when time slows down and stay there. Because when you run away to the safety of easygoing things where time just disappears, that's the opposite action of someone that actually wants to experience their life. You're just trying to ignore your life. And so growing your ability to stay in periods of slower time and actively seek out those activities is just going to make your life and your moments much longer. Like Nirayal says that time management is pain management. It isn't easy, but if you can do it, your life will reward you with a greater sense of fullness. And our life is ultimately just feelings, and it doesn't have that much to do with physics. So it's not about what is true with time, but about how we sense it. So there you have it. That was just one, the master theory about slowing down time and living a fuller life. And fretting about where all your time goes is not the way to spend the one life you have. Enjoying your moments and working with time is the way to live it. And as Bob Dylan says, the purpose of art is to stop time. And I believe so also. So I hope that you find some ways to slow down time for yourself and enjoy life better. Life is, of course, about enjoying it. So do something kind for yourself today. And whilst you're at it, do something nice for someone else too. Thank you so much for listening.
Go you!
Your consistency to reach the end of an episode is legendary.
My hero!
If you have any ideas or feedback for the show, I'm always interested to hear from you.
You're the best!
Studies show we need time for information to sink in, so I'm going to give you a 5-second pause, silence, to reflect on one idea from the show before you jump back into your busy life. Ready and go.